What's going on, everyone? Today we're going to be talking about the 5 different levels of tying fishing hooks. We're going to start with the easiest and we're going to end on the hardest. Let's get Let's get tying. Hey! So there are many kinds of knots and there are many kinds of fishing hooks. And now there are also many ways to tie knots onto your fishing hooks. My goal today is to kind of run you through all the different kinds of knots that you can use and kind of talk about why you would want to use it and show all the different kinds of ways to tie these knots. Now, just because it's harder to tie doesn't mean it's necessarily a better knot or a stronger knot. You tie each knot for a different reason, and I'm going to be running you through exactly what that reason is and how to tie it. This video is going to be a part of a series of videos where I'm just going to straight up teach you as simply and as clear cut as possible. So there's going to be less talking, less fishing, and just more teaching and learning. So if you enjoy this kind of thing, subscribe to our channel right now because we love to teach you guys how to fish. Now there are just so many knots out there, but honestly, you really need to know just one good knot. Everything else is icing on top of the cake. Now there are different knots for different functions, and one knot may work really well in one situation, but would really not make any sense to tie for another situation. I'm going to run you through the 5 levels of tying fishing hooks right now. Let's get started. Okay, the first knot, very simple. We're going to put this tag end through the eye, and then we're going to put our finger here, and we're going to start twisting this line. And we're going to be using these fingers and handing them off to each other. We're going to twist this about 4 to 7 times. So I've pulled 6 times now. Now we're going to take this tag end and put it through this first loop right here. Once it's through that first loop, we're going to pull that tag end and put it through this new loop right here. And now we just tighten the knot. There you go. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is one of the simplest knots to tie. But if you take a look, it's very strong. The line stacks up nicely on top of each other. It holds up really strong, and it takes but 2 seconds to tie. Improved clinch knot is a great general knot for any kind of tackle. Now, I prefer to use this knot on a straight eye. You see how this eye is coming straight up versus this one where the eye is bent back? This one gives you a direct pull to the hook versus this one, I would tie a different kind of knot. Okay, let's get to number 2 now. Okay, knot number 2 is very simple. We're gonna bend the line in half like this and give yourself about 6 inches to work with here. We're going to put this tip through. Now, you see how this is a tag end on this end. We're going to use these 2 fingers and hold it like this. Meanwhile, we're going to use these 2 fingers to pinch this end right here. Now we're going to twist this about 6 times. Anywhere between 4 to 6 works. So now after you twisted it up, you're going to use this tag end. We're going to put it through that first hole. And then we're going to put it through that new hole that we've just created right here. Now we're going to cinch the whole thing down. There we go. Now we're going to tighten it by pulling all different corners. Okay, now this one's a little bit harder because your finger position is a little bit more advanced. And the knot is done. That was another quick, easy knot, but once you practice tying this a few times, it's going to be very simple. Okay, so this is the next knot. You see how the eye is turned here? You're going to want to tie a Snell knot on something like this, and this gets a little bit more difficult. So what you're going to do is put the tag end through. Then you're going to make a loop like this, and you're going to fold it down on itself just like this. See that? I'm going to hold it like this. Now I'm going to take this tag end, wrap it around about, let's say, 6 to 8 times. And look at my finger positioning. Each time I wrap it around, I use these two fingers to pinch, and they go back under. Pinch, back under. Okay? Now, I'm gonna hold this tight so it doesn't, I don't lose that. And I'm gonna take this tag end and put it through that first loop that I made, keeping this tight. Now, I'm gonna pinch this, pull this at the same time. And you see how this knot is stacking up like this? I'm gonna slowly pull that to the shank. And there we go. That's a nice Snell knot right there. And this, I love using this because it's a very strong knot. It gets attached to the shank here itself. You see how it's attached directly to the shank? If you were to tie that first knot I taught you, it would, all the pressure would be at the tip of this rather than off of this shank right here. So this is the strongest knot you can tie onto an eye like this. Now let's start getting into the more complicated knots here. This next knot is very similar to this knot, but we're gonna add another few steps. It's the same thing, except this time, you're gonna wanna leave yourself a way longer tag end. This time, look at how much leader I left here. Okay? Now we're gonna snell this again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right? Then we're going to pinch it here. Bring it through here. And now the tightening of this is important. You have to do it at the same time as each other so that it stacks correctly. Okay. Now we've got this knot right on there, right? This is just the snell. I left this long tag end on here. We're gonna push this through. So we have it like this, right? Now we're gonna twist the line like this. You see that? You see how it's getting wrapped up into each other like this? This is exactly what we want to happen. Because now we're forming a thicker leader line on this. So we're going to be twisting these together like this, forming an extra thick leader. See how this line is braided now? And double the thickness. We want this to be nice and thick for fishing on rocks or fishing for toothy critters. So now to hold this line here, we're going to tie a knot right here. Okay. And then we're going to tie one more using this tag end. There we have it. I'm going to trim this off. And this is the fourth hardest one right here. So this is great because if you want a stronger leader line for fishing around rocks or oyster beds or something that this is too thin and it might get cut, such as also like fish that have sharp teeth, it's going to be a stronger leader line on here and it's attached directly to this snell knot. All right, let's get on to the last and final knot. Okay, so now this is one of the most complicated knots that I know because it just has multiple steps involved in it. So this one, you're going to need to cut your line, your leader line to the length that you want. So I'm going to tie mine about 2 feet, okay? We've got 2 feet of line here. Here's what we're going to do. Push the line through the eye again, right? Now we're going to pinch this down right here. You see this? It's just this. Pinch this down. Okay. Now we're going to take this end and we're going to wrap this about 7 times. 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's do 10. 8, 9, 10. We're going to use these 2 fingers, these 2 right here, pinch it down right here, and now we're going to stick this tag end through the eye this way. it's important that it goes this way. Okay? Now you see this line right here? This line right here that I just put through, we're also gonna pinch that down with the other tag end right here. You see that? We're gonna pinch that down, keeping this tag end like this. Now, we're gonna take this that we're pinching with our pinkies and index finger, and we're just gonna continue wrapping that around. And we're gonna do this another 10 times. 10. Okay, the knot is almost done. Now, we're gonna pull this through. And you wanna do this while pinching and holding everything tightly because you don't wanna lose your knot. There. Okay, now we're gonna tighten it down. Okay. This is a really nice knot because it serves a very, very special purpose. Let's trim it up and I'll show you. So, it just looks like an ordinary knot, but look at this. This is the really awesome part. The really awesome part is that now you can put your bait right here. This is called an egg loop knot. What you put in here are your soft baits, such as crab or clam, and you pinch it down like this. And when you cast it, it's not stuck on the hook. It's actually being held by this fishing line right here. But this is a knot that you use for very soft and delicate fishing baits. And there we have it. That's the 5 levels of fishing knots. And now you guys can see how just because it's harder to tie doesn't necessarily mean it's a better knot. It just means that it's a better knot for a specific situation. This can be applied for all fishing. There's many ways to catch fish. There are many methods, there are many kinds of fishing rods, fishing reels, fishing line, lures, bait. It all depends on what you're doing, how you're fishing, where you're fishing, and if it makes sense to use that. Thank you guys for watching. Here at Hey Skipper, we want to help you guys get on fish, and we want to help you guys learn how to catch fish. Tying knots like this is the first step to being a good fisherman. Any good fisherman knows that your knots are very, very important. It's what holds your hook to the fish that you're catching. If your knots are bad, you lose big fish. It's as plain and simple as that. If you want to learn how to tie more knots, we specialize in teaching you guys through videos like this and through ebooks that I personally write, design, and make so that it's very easily digestible, very easily learned, and very easy to follow. If you want to check out some of our ebooks, visit our website, heyskipperfishing.com. I teach all sorts of things on there. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next week.